Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on the program today, we have some breaking news. The Texans have re-signed tight end Irv Smith Jr. And I know what you're saying, Irv Smith Jr., that's not a massive name, Jeremy. Why are you even making a video? Because that's what we do here on Texans Today. When there's breaking news, we break it down. This is why you sub. How many Irv Smith Jr. videos are you seeing out there? Not a ton, but I think it's actually a decent move, and I'm going to tell you why on today's program. If you're already subbed, go spam those H's down in the comment section, and if you're not, consider joining the #1 Texans channel here on YouTube, here on Texans Today, your one-stop shop for Texans news and rumors. Now, let's get into the breaking news. Irv Smith Jr. re-signed, and this might have been a little bit of a curveball for what a lot of people were thinking the Texans are going to do, because I see a lot of these draft pundits. I see a lot of these people out here saying the Texans need a tight end. They're going to draft a tight end. The Texans went ahead and re-signed someone instead in Irv Smith Jr. And I know what you saw there, no receptions, no targets in 2024. But I will say, prior to the Texans, his 4 seasons prior to the Texans, he obviously missed the 2021 season due to injury. Wasn't that bad in the receiving game. Look at his numbers. I know almost 5 years back now, but in 2019, pretty good. And I actually have some of his draft notes coming out. He was a second-round grade, and basically coming out, he was kind of compared to Benjamin Watson, somebody who is a big athletic field-stretching tight end who can catch the ball and make things happen. And obviously he wasn't that for the Texans this past year, but maybe with new OC Nick Caley, things can change for Irv Smith Jr. So before I get into more of my breakdown around Irv Smith Jr. and what this means for the Texans franchise and their roster, let me know down in the comment section. Does this mean the Texans won't take a tight end in the 2025 NFL draft? Give me a D for draft. Give me a P for pass. D if you think they're still going to draft a tight end. P if you think they're going to pass on a tight end in this draft. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get hit with the YouTube ad break here, all good. Scroll on down and give me your answer of if you think the Texans will still take a tight end. I'm not going to say this takes them out of the running for taking a tight end, right? Irv Smith Jr. isn't somebody where I'm like, oh, locked to make the roster. I do think it makes it a little less likely, though, right? Why would you draft somebody like Irv Smith Jr. right before the draft, or sign somebody like Irv Smith Jr. right before the draft? Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think the Texans have other priorities. They have offensive line, running back, wide receiver, maybe some help in the secondary before they go out and select another tight end after taking one early on in last year's draft in Cade Stover. And I will say, Irv Smith Jr., somebody who a lot of people said coming into this league, while he was going through his draft process, had a lot of potential to be one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Obviously hasn't panned that out that way for Irv Smith, but who's the new Texans offensive coordinator? It's Nick Caley. And look what he did in his past 2 stops, right? With the LA Rams. He turned Tyler Higbee into a household name. Nobody knew about Tyler Higbee before Nick Caley went to LA and helped him and helped that tight end room really, help spring Tyler Higbee's career. Who did he work with before that? Oh, yeah. The New England Patriots with arguably the best tight end of all time in Rob Gronkowski. So if anybody can help Irv Smith Jr. turn it around and get back to those, Alabama days 5-6 years ago, I think it's probably new Texans offensive coordinator Nick Caley. We know he loves tight ends. He was about that in his opening press conference. But I do think Irv Smith Jr., even though he's not a big name, even though people are going to be like, oh, I don't love the signing of Irv Smith, I think could be a decent move for the Texans in the long run. Now, coming up, the state of the Texans tight end room. We'll talk all the guys in the room, everybody that they have under contract right now. But before I do that, couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsors over at GameTime, the official ticketing partner of Texans Today and Chad Sports. You can now save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, comedy, concerts, theater, and more. And trying to get a ticket to the Rockets game up against the Warriors. Yeah, Warriors are going down. I don't care. Golden State, Prostate, John and Kate +8, Rockets in 5, baby. Give me the Rockets all day. And if you want to support them, go to the Toyota Center. Get tickets with our friends over at GameTime right now. They have all-in pricing. The price you see is the price you get. And they have the GameTime Picks feature, which basically filters out all the fluff and shows you the very best deals on the app for incredible seats wherever you want to go. If you want to go to a Rockets game, if you want to go to a comedy show, concert, they got you covered. For my friends, listen closely. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Download GameTime today. What time is it, Cullen? It's game time. Hell yeah, Cullen. Cullen was yelling it in the back. I don't know if you heard him. Let's go to the tight end room, though. Here's what the new tight end depth chart looks like. They obviously re-signed Brevin Jordan this offseason as well. Cade Stover, I have him locked in right now as the tight end too. I think, sophomore year, he showed, some progress his rookie season, had a good end to the 2024-2025 campaign for this Texans team. I think he's locked in for tight end too. Might even fight for that tight end one position by the time, training camp preseason rolls around. And I know what a lot of people are saying, Jeremy, we could still draft a tight end, just trade Dalton Schultz. I'm telling you, it doesn't really make sense, guys. The one of the biggest mistakes I think Nick Caserio has made is re-signing Dalton Schultz to a big contract. I mean, there's no way you can really trade him, right? Like, trading Dalton Schultz, right now, before June 1st, 2025 dead cap of $5 million, 2025 savings $9 million. A post June 1st trade would give you, $11.5 million in savings, $2.5 million in dead cap, and you're like, oh wow, that makes perfect sense for the Texans, right, Jeremy? Right? Well, what team is going to trade for a guy in Dalton Schultz whose numbers have steadily declined year over year? And yeah, a new team taking on Dalton Schultz would have to pay him $14 million this year. You're telling me for those 2024 stats and a guy who actually had some drop problems this past year, you're going to want to pay $14 million? No team in the NFL is going to willingly do that. And if you cut Dalton Schultz, the dead cap is not pretty numbers. So I think Dalton Schultz stays on the Texans at least for the 2025-2026 season. I know everybody wants to trade him. It just doesn't make sense. I don't think a team really bites on that unless maybe they have injuries or a team is really high on Dalton Schultz. I don't see a team trading for Schultz. So I believe he'll still be on the roster. And then I think there's a lot of promise as well for Brevin Jordan. Talk about resurgent. We talked about Irv Smith, his resurgence possibly under new OC Nick Caley, possibly also Brevin Jordan. He showed a lot of promise. Remember, he was the guy in that rookie season for C.J. Stroud up against the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs, had that insane 75-yard touchdown catch that really got NRG rocking and rolling. Brevin Jordan, comeback season is here. He got injured last year on the last year of his rookie deal. The Texans, they showed a lot in how they went about, recruiting Brevin Jordan back to the Texans. They re-signed him while he was still injured. They said, hey, you've shown us enough your first 3 years that we really believe in you moving forward. We want to see one more year of you in Houston. So they went ahead and re-signed him before his rehab was even done. So they really like what they have in Brevin Jordan. And I also think they do really like Cade Stover, the guy who they drafted last year out of Ohio State, C.J. Stroud's former teammate, a really athletic tight end who I think, if you look at rookie tight ends, you look at the best of them, in the NFL. Brock Bowers is kind of an outlier. If you look at George Kittle, Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, all three of those tight ends, arguably three of the best tight ends of all time, struggled a little bit their rookie year. It's hard because tight ends are not only doing one position. It's not just catching the football. They're also part of the offensive line. They're also part of the run game a little bit. And that's why multiple coaches, John Gruden being one of them, said tight end coaches are some of the best offensive coaches in the NFL and make some of the best OCs because they understand all three facets of the offense. They understand, the running game. They understand the passing game. And they understand how those two games intertwine in play action. So I think Nick Caley is the OC. He has a lot of hope. And also this tight end room has a lot of hope because last year, at the end of the year, a lot of Texans fans were thinking the tight end room was one of the weakest parts of this offense. Obviously the wide receiver room, but that was due more to injury, right? The tight end room, a lot of people thought we don't have any really good players in this room. Nick Caley, obviously disagrees because he's bringing one of them back in Irv Smith Jr., and they brought back Brevin Jordan. Now, I know that was before Nick Caley was signed as the offensive coordinator for this team, but I still believe Nick Caley's probably licking his chops to work with Brevin Jordan and the guys in this tight end room. Like I said, breaking news today, Texans re-signing Irv Smith Jr. We don't have the contract details just yet, but I believe, Colin, like 1 year minimum, vet min signing. Yeah, he's not going to make a ton of money on this signing, but I think it might impact the Texans' draft strategy, and I think the Texans are going to go heavy on offensive line. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Don't be surprised if the Texans draft 3 offensive linemen in this year's draft. If they don't move up to get somebody in round 1, like a Kelvin Banks or, I don't think they'll move up for a Josh Simmons, but a Kelvin Banks, maybe a Tyler Booker, a couple spots if they really want to go up and get one of those guys. If they stay at 25 and get an offensive lineman, I wouldn't be surprised if they double, maybe even triple dip at that position. That's why I believe the Texans make a move here, a little premature move of re-signing Irv Smith Jr. Now, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, it's at Jeremy Chuggs. And like I said, who else is giving you a breakdown 30 minutes after the Texans sign Irv Smith Jr.? Yeah, nobody. Nobody at all except us here at Texans Today. Shout out Cullen pressing the 1s and 2s. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to get the latest Texans news and rumors all year long.